listening to Potsy and Tino on the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network brings you its tag team champions of the world, Tino Gray, Rob, the New Age Outlaws. Get on my level, if you will. Sorry, this is actually one of the last shirts I got from GameStop before I no longer was employed. With that said, thank you to Cody Rhodes for that intro. We love the heel intro, if you will. Our theme song is always brought to you by Adam's House Cats, called the Wrestling Song. It's available on iTunes for 99 cents. And 99. Tino,
what's up with you?
Is
last week
with you.
Last week I had my sister in town, so that was fun. We got a lot to.
I got to meet her.
Catching up, yeah, yep. She came out to the show Saturday night. Michael Turner, how you doing? I got to go out to the. I had a show Saturday night in Cary at Chef's Palette, and my sister came out. We had a good crowd. I had a bunch of co-workers. Nicole had some co-workers.
I was out there.
It was there, and Rob surprised us and came out. So it was fun. We had a good time, and now she's gone. And then while I miss her, I'm like, I can, because every night last week we were up till 1:30 just laughing and talking. So I'm like, now I can get some rest.
But I know those feelings, my friend. I know those feelings. So
the excitement and still training with the new job.
Now I am going to go ahead and say, though, that I was a little disappointed in the fact that Tino was losing his voice during singing, and he did not invite his friend of over 20 years to come up and help.
It ain't karaoke, sir. And I had my guitarist. He could sing while I was resting up.
Yeah, but your guitarist decided to rub up his exposed backside of non-guitar towards one Rob, and we had a good time. But
I was like, oh my God, what's he doing? He did that to you, and he went up to another person he knew. He was rubbing his butt. It was funny.
Yeah, but he didn't know me. That's the funny thing about it.
I think he's seen you at least once. At one of the parties.
Well, so folks, just so everybody knows, like, I show up and I go up to the bar and I'm sitting at the bar, and then all of a sudden this other woman shows up and she sits at the bar next to me, and
Rob thought he was gonna Mac.
What's that now?
You thought you were gonna Mac?
No, not my type. But so she sits down next to me, and I have already ordered my food and everything else. So I offer her the menu as well as the bar menu. And she looks at me and says the bar menu is the only menu that she needs. Now, she ordered food, but she wanted to see the bar menu. So when Tino's band stopped playing for extended period of time, for the break, if you will, his guitarist walked up and started talking to the young lady sitting next to me, and I was like, oh, okay. So they seem to know each other. Okay, cool. I've never met Tino's guitarist. I still feel that Tino is very egotistical because it's Tino and the Social Outcasts.
First of all, Social Casualties, and
It might as well be the Outcasts.
I just wanted to be the Social Casualties, but the reason why we keep my name is because I've been playing in this area for over 20 years. So if you see my name, the band, it's easier for us to book it that way, and they don't think it's a new band coming out. So if they see my name on it, and I know you're not calling me egotistical, Mister. We take 45 minutes every show to talk about you, and I get this much about what. Yeah. You ask anybody to watch this show.
I mean, I'm just gonna say that when all you're doing is going yup.
Yep.
Well,
you don't give me a chance to.
it makes it not very interesting. I'm just saying,
Okay.
like get on my level, Tino. Get on my
Okay.
level. But no, but
Oh.
anyway, the show was good. I enjoyed it, but Tino was losing his voice. Like from the moment I walked in,
and I got
all
it
the way
back.
to the end of the show, and it made me
wasn't the end of
laugh
the
because
show.
I'm like, all he'd have to do is tag in his tag team partner. But instead he wants to be he wants to be the jabroni that loses the match by himself rather than tagging in the tag team partner. But
no, after Nicole ordered me that hot tea, it went better after that. So
your voice still went out. And what's funny, so all I'll say about it is that it seemed very interesting that a lot of the songs that you decided to sing towards the end of the night, your bandmates looked at you like, what is he playing? And
there's a set list. They knew what I was playing. We had a set list that you came
they
up
looked at you like, are you sure? and then B, almost all of those songs were songs that I sing karaoke, and I could have joined in, but it's all right.
Again, you I'm sure you went out Monday night and got that itch out of your system.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
Oh, so I did.
Then you there you go. That.
Yeah. I see how it is.
Yeah.
See how it is. Anyways, so Tino, I know that you had family in town. Well, what else was really up with you this week?
Besides training for this new job and sitting in and shadowing, watching other people, sitting down in classes, shadowing, knowing that I'm going to have to get ready for this. We got you on it, Ruckus. See?
Oh, yeah. We are live at Ruckus right now, sir.
Oh, I thought he meant he got you the karaoke at Ruckus.
No. We are live at Ruckus on one of the TVs.
Oh, is that what he does now?
Thank you. He said he's upset that he doesn't get to watch us. So I said, T, why don't you actually put us on at Ruckus? So we are now live on the TV at Ruckus right now. So Terrence, thank you. Ruckus in Morrisville, by the way, great drink specials, great.
And I want to say that if you're at Ruckus and you at the bar, subscribe and buy our shit. Subscribe, and buy our stuff.
Subscribe to the show, buy our shit, buy a t-shirt, help us out. But more than anything else, enjoy the sushi and of course, enjoy hanging out over there. I did tell him to make sure that he put us up with closed captioning because he said that we probably will not be up there with sound.
No worries. Also, make sure that you're tipping. Make sure you
tip your wait staff and your bartenders, folks. Very important, especially when you've got Kari and Terrence working behind the bar for you. So
sweetness.
So what's going on with you, Tino?
Like I said, I'm training for this new job. These classes are interesting. I've got War and Peace size manuals. I've got to go through and learn all this stuff. So I'm enjoying it. I'm learning a lot. It's pretty much though a lot of the same things that I was doing at the mission. Working with the guys and trying to get them back on track. Pretty much. So I deal with a lot of I'm part of DOSE, which is we work with domestic violence and anger management people, and when they have to go to court and have classes, I facilitate those classes, but I also am the case manager. So I sit them down and keep up with them, keep up with their POs, try to keep them on track. Yeah, sometimes might have to drop the hammer down on them, like, hey, look, dude, you're not doing what you need to do. But right now I'm still training, so I haven't actually gotten into it yet, but I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Well, that's awesome, man.
And then being a rock star, man, Saturday night, and then we were so tired we didn't even make it to church Sunday. So I'm like, I had to ask for forgiveness on that when we were just like, you know when you go on vacation and you have to come back and you have to take a vacation from your vacation.
I don't think I've ever come back from vacation feeling refreshed.
Yeah. And like I said, while I love having my sister here and we had a blast, it's just like trying to get back on my schedule, like my sleep schedule and all that, trying to get back into it. It's been kind of rough. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Ready for her to come back. But
I joked with her when I met her that like she was like, what's your show about, right? And I was like, well, we talk about pro wrestling because that's what Tino and I really got to know and like we loved before we actually met each other. But I said, but I told her I was like, but we just randomly come up with topics from time to time. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, all right, I'm going to be real with you. This isn't exactly a family-friendly statement, but from time to time, I'll sit there and say stuff like, why do your farts smell worse in the shower?
You did not tell my baby.
Oh, I did. I did. And she
laughed.
Tino, she laughed her ass off.
I know.
She started laughing, and then she went like this. She was like she was thinking about it.
Yep.
And then she's like, you know what? You're right. And I was like, Tino tried to tell me that his farts don't smell as bad. And I was like, you're full of shit.
In the shower though, I think and I think it's because of the heat and the enclosed. Maybe it doesn't smell worse. It's just you're trapped with it. I don't know if it smells worse.
I'm gonna say right now that like whatever it is, anytime it's within that enclosed like shower space,
yeah, it
is the worst smelling fart you're ever gonna let out, and it's terrible. But she was asking like what we talk about, and that was the kind of stuff that I was like, and I apologized before I even said it because I'm a gentleman, I'm trying to be nice, and I'm like, well, this is the kind of stuff that we talk about from time to time. And I said, that's what differs us from what you see on anybody else talking about pro wrestling. Is pro wrestling podcasts just talk about pro wrestling? They bring up like who's the world champion, who's doing this, what we do is we talk about us. We talk about like what random 40-something-year-old guys are gonna talk about, right?
And what makes us laugh.
And what makes us laugh.
Because honestly, while we love having people in the audience, we just try to pop each other.
So we got Michael Turner in the audience right now. Michael Turner, when you passed gas in the shower the last time,
we're gonna do this.
Was it not like the worst smelling thing you ever dealt with? I'm gonna ask you straight up. But on top of that, since we're talking about what's up with me,
before you go, I got an idea. Everybody who was watching it ruckus, if you can go on your phone and YouTube and get in our comments, you can
join in right now. Absolutely.
Michael says, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it was the worst smelling thing that he ever. But so Tino, I'm going to say something that could get me in trouble at my job, okay?
Oh, God.
Because we're talking about what's up with us, right?
Yeah, but I don't want you to be unemployed, dude.
Well, I won't be. I as far as I know, none of them actually watch the show. But
how many strikes you got? You know what I'm saying? You don't want.
I think we're good. We're good. I've been getting some really good D's recently.
Cool.
So today on my break.
Okay.
I was asked by one of the guys that. So I'll put it this way: the artist that worked on Mandalorian,
right,
His name's Troy Dongara, right?
Uh-huh.
So we just picked his book up through KeenSpot. And he's got a book coming out called Kid Slapshot, which is basically some kid that's dressed up in a hoodie and he wears like a hockey mask and has a hockey stick and all this cool stuff. And he's a zombie hunter. Okay.
But it kind of sounds like, what's the dude on the Ninja Turtles?
Casey
You know what I'm talking about? Yes.
Yeah.
So
like kind of sounds like Casey Jones, except he is a zombie hunter that wears like just hockey gear. Okay. So anyway, he messages me and he goes, Rob, I want you to work on a cover for the book. And I'm like, okay. Well, he wanted me to work on a cover for issue number 2, right? And today he sits there and he goes, hey, is there any way that you could actually do a cover for issue number 1? And I'm like, sure. Like, anytime I can have a cover come out with my artwork on it, I'm gonna sit at. Why would I say no, right? Unless you tell me, hey, it needs to be in by like 4:00 this afternoon.
You're like, nah, I can't do it.
I'm probably gonna sit there and say, let's do it, right? So he sits there and he's like, hey, can you sit there and try to send me something? And I said, Troy, I absolutely can, but here's the deal, okay? And Troy's like, oh, geez, what's he going to ask for?
Right.
And I said, I know that your book is an all ages, yes, an all ages friendly book. So it's a kid friendly book, right? So it's about a kid zombie slayer, basically. And I sit there and I go, I am absolutely 100% ready to help you out with this book. And I'm already on board as the editor of it and everything else. But I sat there and said, I will do a cover, but I want to be able to do a cover. Why are you text messaging me?
I don't know if I can say that on the air.
Oh, I don't have an answer for your question either, by the way. It just kind of disappeared, and I'll reach back out, but we'll figure that out. But anyway, so Troy sits there and he's like, so what's your demand here? And I said, well, I'm a big Frank Miller fan.
Okay, and that is Batman.
So Frank Miller is known for doing Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, Sin City, Daredevil, like some of the best stories of like the last 40 years.
Right.
And he goes, Rob, I'm doing a kid's book. And I'm like, trust me, it's not going to be like super uber violent or anything else, but I want to be able to sit there and incorporate like the Frank Miller stuff with the kids stuff. And he goes, all right, do it, whatever. Just
that sounds interesting.
And Tino, after hours, I will show you exactly what I did because I'll tell you, I love it. I think it looks awesome.
Oh, by the way, you got a new fan. By the way, I don't know if she told you.
Oh, your sister?
Yeah, she got all the. I didn't realize all the. I've got all the comics, the junior high, and she read every one of them.
Well, let's figure out which ones she wants, and we'll get her copies of whatever she wants. But so I'm sitting there like on my break, designing this Frank Miller-esque version of Slapshot.
Right.
And dude,
good.
It's good. It's good. I am uber pleased with it. Like it went through multiple iterations. On my regular break, I showed it to Troy. On my lunch break, I showed him the edits that I made to it. And by the end of the day, on my third break, I finally feel like we got it right. And it's just a kid holding a hockey stick, but yet it's done in Sin City style.
I'm interested in seeing that.
And I'll show you when we're done, because like I was even like, do we just use his logo? Do we?
Dave.
I'm trying to add it. Oh, of course, Dave. We will be at the show tomorrow. We are sitting TV level, probably pretty high up though. We're gonna be middle of the arena.
Is it me, you, and
on
Jason?
TV side.
Is it just me, you, and Jay?
It's just you, me, and Jason. But I mean, like Troy or like everybody will be there. Like Shabar is the only person that's not going to be there, and that's because Shabar actually has to work. But Causey will be there. All the regular guys from the group will be there. Everything else. So
sweet.
So is Mickie James winning the Rumble? Not at all.
No.
I will say that I do think that she's going to have her moment in the sun, because there's no way that she signed on to be part of the Royal Rumble after all of the negativity that happened with her and her character. The trash bag and everything else, although that apparently is like standard procedure, so it isn't like it was anything special for her. I anticipate that she will have, like, if I had to guess, Tino, right now, I would say she will be one of the final 4 competitors.
You think so?
I think she will.
Wow. That's
and
strong.
She'll have a great moment with Charlotte. And it'll be one of those flip-flop where all of a sudden they turn around, and then the one that you thought was going to try to turn the one over the ropes spins around, and then the other one throws her over the ropes. So I have a feeling we're going to get them, because they're trying to make good with Mickie James. There's no way that this woman would sit there and sign on for hey, we're going to have you enter, and then we're just going to dump you over the ropes.
And what's even more interesting to me, and I know we jumped into wrestling here.
Right.
What's even more interesting to me is that they even said the
Impact
knockout champion. So Vince, I guess, it doesn't matter to him anymore. You know what I mean? Or you think he's trying? Do you think he's trying to do like AEW did and try to share? What do you think? What do you think of that?
Because it's not an AEW employee, they're willing to share some of the spotlight.
But that's what I'm saying, though. You know how AEW and Impact shared stuff. Do you think? I'm asking. You think Vince and Impact will be?
Vince doesn't give a shit. Vince is literally sitting there going, "Let's call up the people that we think would be good on our TV," because. You know what? We were going to talk about this a little bit later. We might as well go ahead and get it out of the way, right?
Okay.
There's a rumor out there that Vince is trying to make a big splash by having a Forbidden Door person show up. And I don't know what everyone else has seen, but the person that they keep showing as they talk about this Forbidden Door thing is Chris Jericho. Now, Chris Jericho already has a good standing with the WWE. He's gonna be a WWE Hall of Famer at some point.
Yeah.
If they sat there and called up Chris Jericho and said, "Hey, Chris, do you want to show up in the Royal Rumble?" And Chris Jericho said, "Let me talk to Tony Khan," and Tony Khan said, "Sure, as long as they don't bitch you out," then I don't see any reason why Chris Jericho can't show up in the Royal Rumble. I don't see Chris Jericho winning the Royal Rumble.
No.
But I see Chris Jericho as a potential WWE Hall of Famer having 15 to 20 minutes in the Royal Rumble and then finally getting tossed out by like Big E or somebody like that, just so that they can give the rub to the guy who will initially end up winning the Royal Rumble, right? With Mickie James, I kind of see the exact same thing, except I think that they owe her something. And I think that a lot of people feel that they owe her something. So because they owe her something, she's going to get the rub of being able to throw out somebody or somebodies that are actually high quality opponents. Now, it could be the Litas, or it could be the Michelle McCools, could be any of them. The fact of the matter is that when it comes to Mickie James, they owe her.
No, they owe her big.
And the only way that they're going to get her to sit there and sign up saying, yes, I want to be part of the Royal Rumble, is if she has some creative control over what happens with her character. Because they're literally not going to have her show up just to run in, have somebody else grab her, and throw her out the other side.
That place will go bananas.
So here's the problem with that from WWE perspective. AEW Dynamite is now neck and neck with Monday Night Raw in the main event. Disagree. And David, we talk about this on a pretty regular basis. And we haven't even really started talking about pro wrestling tonight. But I will say that here's the thing. AEW Dynamite is hitting 1 million viewers. It's hitting 1 million viewers, and it's hitting a 0.43 this week with its first TBS Dynamite, right? Tino, you saw it, right? 0.43. When we sit there and we say that it's hitting the same demographics, it's hitting the same numbers as Monday Night Raw, the thing is that it's hitting the same numbers as who's watching it live.
Yeah.
We've already talked about this. The USA app sits there and shows Monday Night Raw the day after it hits. Hulu shows Raw the day after it hits with a 90-minute version of it. The fact of the matter still remains to this day that even though the ratings are what we think they are based on the ratings of live television, we're not seeing the +7 ratings, which are the most important ratings coming out of all of this programming. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't watch Monday Night Raw on Monday nights anymore. I don't. I don't have time to sit there and put 3 hours into watching 15 minutes of Matt Riddle and Randy Orton and 5 minutes of Bobby Lashley. I don't have the time to sit there and do it. At the same time, I can tell you that I do watch it by like Thursday afternoon. And by the time I've ended up watching it, the ratings are pretty much in, but you get a ratings +7 rating, which is where the money comes from now. So anybody who sits there, go ahead.
The way I watch is obviously I DVR it, and like Nicole and I will watch something, and then when she goes to bed, I'll go back, but I'm fast forwarding. I'm not watching the whole thing, so it's not technically live, but it's still DVR.
Yeah, and I mean my main statement here is this. It's pretty simple. Is that WWE realizes that you're not going to watch 7 hours of pro wrestling a week. You're not. You're not going to watch it without hitting the fast forward button at all. You're just not.
Mm-mm.
And if you did, thank goodness for you. Okay, because the truth of the matter is that none of us have the time to sit there and watch 7 hours of WWE programming. On top of that, watching 3 hours of AEW programming, and then watching 2 hours of Impact programming. We just don't have the time. Like, what would you do otherwise? Like, that is literally your entire time being up after work until you go to bed. And I could tell you, I watched Dexter this week. I've caught up on Yellow Jackets this week. I didn't have time to just sit there and watch pro wrestling because I had to watch these other shows. Like they're phenomenal TV, by the way. So anyways, so David says that that's not the argument in favor of just using the only metrics we have. We don't have the +7s. That's not true. The +7s are available. You really do have to search for them. Because back in the day when the +7s first started, They really forced them down your throat because they wanted you to see them. Now they're sitting there going, well, but you can still find them. And the +7s are the most important numbers out there. Because I can tell you right now, I watch a show called Evil on Paramount Plus. Evil had its first season on CBS. CBS sat there and said, this is a really well-received show, but not good on the ratings. So what do we do with it? They said, we'll give it a second season on Paramount Plus. Well, Paramount Plus sat there and said, hey, this was a really well-received show on Paramount Plus, but we can't say that it was watched at like 9 o'clock on Sunday nights or whatever. We can just say that a lot of people fucking watch the show. Right? So what did they do? They sat there and said, okay, maybe we cut the budget back a little bit for the third season, but we're approving it for a third season still on Paramount Plus. Now, the other thing that happened with it, David, just so you know, is that when it left CBS, that very first episode, the very first episode of season 2, which was only available on Paramount Plus, within the first 10 minutes of the episode, the main character sits there and uses fuck. And you instantly know that it is not the same show that it used to be. And it finally took off the bracers and the collars that were originally on it, holding the show back from what it could actually be. Because it was on CBS. It was on network television. Wasn't ever going to be what it could possibly be. So when they sat there and said, you know what, we've got this great new network that we're getting ready to pawn off on people for $7 a month or whatever it is, let's go ahead and see what we can do here. And they were able to sit there and get people to sit there and watch the show, knowing that they could now sit there and drop it in with the language and some of the barriers lifted that were originally there. Like, interestingly enough, I think there was even nudity in it and stuff like that wasn't in the original, like, CBS version of it. Great. You know, because that, I hate to say it, that's what gets people to watch it, you know? Like, it doesn't matter that it's got the guy that was Luke Cage. It doesn't matter that it's got the guy from Person of Interest in it. It doesn't matter that it's got a hot woman sitting there just being part of it. The fact that all of a sudden the hot woman might have her top off suddenly has people sitting there going, I got to watch next week. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird, but. So, David, I appreciate that you agree and that you're willing to say that. The truth behind it when it comes to the pro wrestling side is kind of similar. You know, we sit there and we talk about how WWE had the WWE Network. Now it's got Peacock.
Yeah.
Peacock can't show Monday Night Raw for like 30 days after Monday Night Raw launches. I don't.
Peacock sucks. Don't even get me started on Peacock. You know, when you had the network, say I was somewhere and the pay-per-view started, I could come back and catch up. If a pay-per-view starts at 8 o'clock and you log on at 8:10, guess what?
You got to start at 8 o'clock.
Huh?
You could start at 8 o'clock on WWE Network.
Yes. Now on Peacock, you can't. So if it starts at 8 and you come in at 8:10, 8:15, you're waiting until 11 o'clock.
Dude, I sat there and I blasted them on Twitter about that, right?
And you can't rewind.
And you know what they sat there and sent me? They sent me a message saying, hey, we really appreciate your critical feedback. Just so you know, we understand, but you can always watch it again as soon as it's over. And I was like, go fuck yourselves. I haven't even signed up for the free Peacock account because I'm not compelled.
Peacock has
David, I'll tell you right now. And David's a friend of the show from way back. In fact, he's a karaoke fan with us. The fact of the matter when it comes to what Peacock allows, Peacock gives you access to all of the things like the Stone Cold podcast or the Broken Skull sessions, if you will. The what is it? The Ruthless Aggression season 2. All this stuff that by the way is super well produced.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like the production levels of Ruthless Aggression season 2 is even better than Ruthless Aggression season 1. Like they have gone above and beyond with what they're giving you, because they understand that, like, hey, we gave you a season of this. Now we're going to go back in and we're going to talk about even like more intricate moments of this stuff, right? And when they do it, they're talking to people like Adam Cole. They're talking to people like Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. They're talking to like the guys that we really want to get inside the minds of to understand what made them want to become WWE superstars in the first place. And it is miraculous. Okay? It is a tremendous and momentous feeling when you're actually hearing them explain. Like when Adam Cole sits there and explains why he is such a Shawn Michaels fan after Shawn Michaels came back after he was told he'd never be able to wrestle again. Like that really gives you something as a pro wrestling fan that drives drives your beliefs and your understanding of where wrestling is.
Yes.
Am I right, Tino?
Yes.
You know, so like all this stuff and now
not even that, the Broken Skull sessions, Stone Cold show production seems to be even better as well. I mean,
well, yeah, because now like you can see that like not only are they taking pictures of certain things that Stone Cold wants to talk about, but they're actually showing video footage.
Yes.
From like, I mean, we're talking AWA footage with
DDP,
with Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
And when you see him and he's like, I'm the Diamond Cutter and I'm gonna, and you're like, what is this? Like, who is this guy? And then all of a sudden, you know, like you see him talk about like being Diamond Dallas Page later on, and you just it's
Baked.live.
Yeah. Do y'all know about the Baked.live?
I hadn't heard of that. Have you?
No. So David, you're probably gonna have to tell us tomorrow night or something. But anyway, Tino, I really didn't get to talk about what's going on with me. I know that I mentioned that I'm working on a cover for one of the Keen Spot books coming up. Yeah. But you know, like I've turned in Mandalorian, I've turned in the latest Junior High Horrors book, and we're moving forward with those. I might have news in the next couple of weeks of something else super cool with the comic books coming up that I can't talk about right now. But on top of that, you know, like it's time to move on to some new projects. So I'm gonna start writing some new books, and Rob Nico, who is the artist for Immortal going forward, has said that he is getting ready to move forward on some Immortal artwork. So we're hoping to have Immortal start up again. And
Artie.
So
Artie.
Artie will be in Immortal.
I know. I'm want Artie to have his own.
Well, I want to do that, but the truth behind it is that as much as I want to do an Artie specific story, which I do have in mind, there's some other stories that are more forefront and ready to go. So
I'll let it go, but you know.
Well, we'll get there. Worth the $5. I hope you're talking about Peacock or any of my comics.
He might be talking about the Bait.live.
You don't think he's talking about my comics?
Oh, he could be.
Chris Barrett, I hope you're talking about my comics when it comes to worth the $5. Oh, it's the wrestling streaming site. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Tino,
Y'all.
NXT 2.0, sir.
Did we talk about Raw last week? 'Cause I know we did the show on Monday because my sister was coming.
No.
Anything you want to talk about? I mean, I'm just anything you want to talk about?
No.
Okay.
Well, I guess if there was anything I wanted to talk about, I would say it would be the four-way dance to determine who was the number one contender for the men's world championship. Kevin Owens putting his body on the line, jumping off the rafter and everything else. Phenomenal work by all four competitors. And of course, ending with Bobby Lashley winning, which led to last night, mind you.
And we'll get to that too. So,
well, we can go ahead and talk about it if you want.
Last night's?
Sure,
No.
Why not?
Well, let's do it in chronology.
We'll just talk all pro wrestling right now, like Monday Night Raw. We started talking about it. We might as well.
Well, no, because I want to go
now.
Go through the week like we normally do chronologically.
Fine. We'll go back to NXT.
Because sometimes because what happened on SmackDown bled over kind of into Raw, so it wouldn't make sense to backwards.
So you're right. So let's go ahead and say this: with NXT, we had Mandy Rose end up maintaining and retaining the women's world championship against Raquel Gonzalez. A little surprising there, but it was a three-way dance. So
I really thought they're gonna let the young girl win.
Cora Jade.
I thought they might, because the way they've been pushing her.
I was kind of surprised that out of all like the way that they did it, that Mandy Rose won, because I was very disappointed that all of the new people won besides Mandy Rose. And when I say that, Roderick Strong versus Carmelo Hayes,
that was a good
hell of a match.
Hell
of a match. And Roddy proved why he was the North American champion as part of the Undisputed Era. Don't ever take anything away from what Roderick Strong was able to do as part of UE. But I was very disappointed that Carmelo Hayes won that match and won it in kind of decisive favor. It just kind of looked like they really were pushing him to be the next big thing. And then on top of that, to have Tommaso Ciampa come out, and I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I noticed that a lot of people haven't talked about is when Braun Breaker stood in the ring and got ready to do the Steiner recliner, right? So the what do they call it? The whatever it is.
Camel clutch, whatever that was.
Camel clutch, yeah. When he's getting ready to do the camel clutch, the Steiner recliner to him, he stands there and hesitates and doesn't know to pull his own things down, like from a singlet. And I'm like, when he finally does it, then he sits there and pulls Tommaso Ciampa up and gets Tommaso Ciampa to tap out to it.
I'm gonna tell you another thing that aggravates me about it.
But he looked
lost,
confused.
You know something else that pissed me off about it? So he was what was his name supposed to be before they made him Braun Breaker? Rex Steiner, right? Then they decide we don't want anything to do with the Steiners, blah, 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 blah. So at the very end of the show, I don't even know if you caught it. When he's standing on the rope holding the belt up, they said the pup has turned into the dog-faced gremlin. What the fuck? And then when he did the Frankensteiner, they said Frankensteiner. If you make up your mind. If you don't want any kind of him to be known as a Steiner, don't say Frankensteiner and don't say dog-faced gremlin.
Well, remember, the reason why he's not known as Rex Steiner is because his literal last name is Rex Steiner.
Yeah, Vince McMahon. I get
Which
that,
means, Tino,
but they still
hold
don't.
on. Which means any wrestling he goes to, he can be called Rex Steiner. Doesn't mean his first name will be Rex. Doesn't mean his last name will be Steiner. But he can be called Rex Steiner because that is his real birth name.
Yes.
Which means the reason why the WWE doesn't want to allow for that is because, as we've already discussed in previous episodes, the WWE is now going through another renaissance of characters. Mm-hmm. So this is why Drew McIntyre suddenly wears a kilt, even though Drew McIntyre, when he won the world title, was wearing a leather jacket. This is why when you see Baron Corbin, now he's Happy Corbin wearing his stupid fedoras and giving really, really bad, terrible jokes. This is why Nikki ASH is a superhero or supervillain now, if you will.
No, I get all that. What I'm saying is, when he first came out, there was an edict that they weren't allowed to even acknowledge that he was a Steiner, and now they are.
And they have not, even though his dad walked into the ring and stood up and held his hand up high, and that is Rick Steiner. Even though all of that happened, and Tommaso Ciampa walked up and actually shook hands with Rick Steiner before Rick Steiner went into the ring, I can tell you that it doesn't matter what they show you on the screen. It's based on who the character is, right? This is why the guy, when he went up to the top rope, was actually frightened by being on the top rope. This is why when he finally decided to do a Hurricane Rana, it was another Frankensteiner, right? Like it's because it's part of his lineage, and it's always going to be part of it. The even if the guys commentating are told don't say it, someone's gonna slip. Someone's gonna talk about it. And while they don't want him being called Rex Steiner, they do want his lineage being acknowledged and everything else, because they want him to be seen as a second generation pro wrestler, because otherwise, why is he being thrown into the main event at NXT so fast that like they're ready to just toss away Tommaso Ciampa, who has been an amazing second time world champion?
I just thought it was funny they said Frankenstein and then the dog faced gremlin. I'm like,
no, I agree with you. I do agree with you. I just think that it's one of those things where like it's a double standard.
Yeah.
That WWE is going to make their own rules on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was disappointed that Tommaso Ciampa, after Carmelo Hayes won the now noticed as the North American Championship.
North American Cruiserweight Championship.
No, not anymore. Like
they
just
stopped that?
said, it will now be recognized as the North American Championship,
so they didn't
which
change
allows no weight classes, by the way.
So they didn't change the name. So they're just going to bond those together.
Correct. Originally, it was supposed to be the North American Cruiserweight Championship, but now it is just noticed as the North American Championship. Again, I'm disappointed because I would have liked to have seen either Roderick Strong or Tommaso Ciampa maintain those championships, and yet neither one of them did. And now it's got us all thinking that neither one of them is going to continue being on NXT.
I think you had that conversation, and you said if Roddy won, I think you said if Roddy won, Breaker would win, or reversed.
Well, either way, like I figured one would win, one would lose, vice versa, and unfortunately they decided to pull the trigger on both.
2.0.
what got said later in the week after Tuesday was that Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne were having dark matches on SmackDown tapings. So it's possible that we could see Tommaso Ciampa showing up on SmackDown. We could see Pete Dunne showing up on SmackDown.
And I thought that he at one time, I guess he's leaving. I remember at one time him and I think it was Gargano said they had no interest of going to the main roster. They wanted to stay in NXT. I guess things are changing now.
So they both basically said similar things, except for the fact that, like, when Ciampa started saying stuff like that, that was when Randy Orton also sat there and said, "Congratulations to leg slaps." And that got Tommaso Ciampa sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, put your money where your mouth is." And Randy Orton said, "Come get me, champ." So I think Ciampa could have a run on the main roster. What I'm really worried about is the fact that, like, as people seem to get those dark matches, they get let go, right? So Ciampa's like 36. He's aged out from NXT at this point. He could just find himself on the open market.
Or the curse of what I like call the NXT. And we did say there, yes, you're right. There are some, but the majority of the NXT people, Vince hasn't seen them. So I'm scared they're going to put Ciampa on the main roster and not know what to do with them, and he'll go the way of a Finn Balor. You know what I mean? They just.
I think that what ends up happening there in a lot of cases, Tino, and this is something that we don't talk about a lot. There are guys like Ricochet, right? And we look at Ricochet and we say, this guy should be at the top of the card somewhere. Well, Ricochet's like 5'8", 5'6", actually, I think is what he really is. So he's like 5'6", so he's like smaller than me. Mm-hmm. And yet we sit there and say, this guy should be at the top of the card. Well, WWE has this new thing in place that we all know about, which is big guys win championships. Now, it's not always...
It's not new. That's always been with Vince.
But Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, those guys made it past that. Daniel Bryan made it past that. Stone Cold Steve Austin made it past that. He was 6'2", he was 250 pounds. The Rock, 6'4", 285, right? Or 265, I think.
They're still big guys compared to...
But they're not Andre the Giant, which is what Vince really wants, right? My point, though, is that like ultimately when you look at these guys, you see the size and everything else, and you're like, why can't these guys get over, and why aren't they top of the card guys? It's because, well, first of all, now we already talked about it. Damian Priest suddenly is a character rather than being Damian Priest, right? He's Damian and he's the priest, right? He's like two different characters. Doesn't make sense. Like, literally, they just took his character and said, what if we did this to it? And now we're just supposed to believe that. Drew McIntyre, same thing, right? He was Drew McIntyre, super cool, like Irish guy. And now all of a sudden he's
the Celtic Warrior
wearing a kilt, and he's got Angela the giant sword, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, why did they change that? And I literally think it's because Vince is going so crazy that he's thinking it's the mid-'80s again, and Duke the Dumpster Drosy is going to walk out from the backstage area at some point.
The gobbledygooker.
What's that? Bastion Booger? Yeah, exactly.
The gobbledygooker.
Oh, gobbledygooker. Even worse. But that's what I'm worried about, right? So, I don't know. It's one of those weird things. So last week, AEW Dynamite once again started with a World Championship match, Tino. Now,
what'd you think of it this time?
Oh, it was a great match. Like, I found it really weird that everybody was sitting there saying that it was a better match than the first one.
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
But yet, like Busted Open talked about it. Dave Meltzer talked about it. Like, they're all talking about how it was a better match than the first time. Is it because it was blood? I don't know.
Or
is it because Is it because they had judges? I don't know. I didn't think that it was a better match. Now, it did make Hangman Page
Look better.
look better. Like, Bryan Danielson was gassed. Was he really, though?
I don't think so because
he wasn't,
they kept talking about his cardio.
because the first time they went up against each other, he was sitting there doing jumping jacks after the hour-long match happened. So we know that he really wasn't gassed. He knew that his job was to sit there and make the champ look better the second time around, right? The fact that Bryan Danielson took his first loss is impressive. The fact that he did it in the opening match again, I'm tired of that. You're talking about your world fucking championship. Why is it that your world championship is always defended in the first match of the night?
Because they had is that the same night? Who was the main event? Was that the tag team? When the tag team was at the main event?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But why is okay? So saying that your tag team division,
You're not going to argue it for me. I totally agree with you. They should have swapped those. Your champion
but the only reason why I say, okay, I understand why you put the main event as the world title match first is because you're sitting there saying, if it goes an hour long, we have to go to the judges. Yes. And TBS is not going to give you extra time, right? Yeah. So you have to do it where you know that you've got an hour and 20 minutes or whatever to do it.
Correct.
So I get that, but it's bullshit. It is your world title. It is your top championship. And so far, you have said that Hangman Page does not deserve to be your main event. That's what you're saying. You're legitimately saying your top champion in your entire wrestling community does not deserve the top spotlight.
It's disrespectful.
It is disrespectful. And it's disrespectful to Hangman Page. It's disrespectful to AEW. It's disrespectful to TBS.
And Bryan Danielson.
And beyond a shadow of a doubt, one of the 3 best wrestlers in the entire fucking world. It is disrespectful to Bryan Danielson.
I keep calling him Daniel Bryan, but Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. You call him Bryan Danielson there.
The first time I said Daniel Bryan.
Did you?
Yeah.
But the fact remains that you basically said that the Jade Cargill versus Ruby Soho match was more important than your world title match. Your secondary title for women was more important than your top title in the entire industry. Not the top title for your company, the top title for the industry, because you were trying to say that you are the #1 wrestling company in the world.
Was that Eddie Kingston match also in there? The Eddie Kingston and the Proud and Powerful against the 2.0 Smucks. Wasn't that on AEW Dynamite? Okay, I was about to say, because I thought that, and I'm like, you're saying that's more important.
But even still,
it's disrespectful. I get what you're saying, and I didn't think of it that way. They got judges. They had to go to a time limit. They had to make sure they had time because TBS.
So I get that.
But still, started earlier. Started 10, 15 minutes earlier to give it time. You might have to cut the other matches shorter, but give it time. But make it the main event.
Well, started at 9:00 straight up. And you know what? Have Tony Schiavone right at the beginning of it sit there and say, and folks, if we are going to go past the hour and need to have the judges, TBS has given us the approval to do so.
Or when they're going out there and say, we're desperately out of time.
No, we don't need that.
Do that?
We don't need that.
like every week,
or sit there and just randomly in the middle of it go, it's Sting. No, we don't need that either. We don't need either of those. The fact remains that Bryan Danielson has proven that he has elevated the world championship better than both Kenny Omega and Adam Page, and he hasn't held the strap. Like, what does that tell you about AEW? It tells you that they still require the champions of the WWE to be able to really elevate their own broadcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was trying to say no, but I was trying to. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Even Cole.
I mean, Adam Cole. Like, wasn't it interesting that Adam Cole went up against what's his face on Friday, and wasn't that the guy that like Adam Cole had like while he was the NXT champion? Wasn't that the match that he ended up having against that guy who was like the new age?
Yes, because they even mentioned they met in another organization on another night.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point now, and I like AEW, but I think them snatching up, if they snatch up a few of the WWE releases, like the good ones, I understand, but it seems to me like they're snatching them all up.
Tony Khan realizes that he has way too many people on roster right now. He's even said that. He said that we're going to have to be really, really smart with who we re-sign rather than who we keep on roster.
And I think Marco Stunt's not going to be one of them, according to a report I saw.
Well, and that seems to be it, right? That Marco, like, when was the last time you saw Marco Stunt?
Exactly. They were
isn't it weird that Christian Cage is now the new Marco Stunt?
And they were saying that. They were saying that when the Jurassic Park won the titles, Marco Stunt was nowhere to be seen. Like,
And yeah, so it's pretty sad.
But what you think? What you think of the Ruby Soho Jade Cargill match? I thought that was a pretty good match.
Oh, it was a good match. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Ruby Soho is a strong competitor in the ring when she has strong competitors to go against. I didn't
think she was going to win that match, though. I knew Jade was going to win that match.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to like when I sat there and told you that AEW needs to establish their own talent so you can push Ruby Soho to be the number one contender immediately in her first match. She's going to lose. Then you can push her to be the number one contender all the way through a brand new championship thing, and she's going to lose. Will she win at some point? Sure. But Jade Cargill's been there since like week 3 of AEW.
And they started planting the seed for that because what does she call herself? That bitch. And right when they were going to announce they were going to TBS, she said Wednesdays was going to be that bitch show. I think they started planting those seeds back then. So that's how I'm like, she's winning. When she was announced it's going to be her and Soho, it's going to be her so she can say that bitch show. You know what I'm saying?
But let's be real. There's something to be said for when you have your top championships all being heels. It means that you always have somebody going after the belt rather than and unfortunately when it comes to AEW, your top champion is a babyface, which means that he's always trying to defend against the people coming at him rather than the person trying to reach and claw and grab at that world title, right?
Well, now your tag team champions are baby faces too. And I thought
but
touch for them to have all the tag teams come out.
But I wonder, so I mean, even Lucha, even the Lucha Brothers though were baby faces.
Yeah.
I think that the issue there was that they called an audible and they were afraid that the Lucha Brothers weren't going to be able to maintain those championships because they thought that Phoenix had broken his arm. Yeah.
That looked nasty.
I mean, it looked terrible. And the fact that they said he didn't break his arm, I'm
It's
sitting there, I'm
amazing.
still wondering if it's a stress fracture. Because, you know, they're always like, oh, you can see the bone sticking out. Oh, that's not broken. Fuck you. That shit's broken, motherfucker.
Did you see the way, all the angles, the way he landed and the way that thing bent? I was like, oh.
But you know, immediately they're sitting there going, oh shit. Even if Jurassic Express is supposed to lose this match right now, hold up. Give it to them because he's not wrestling for like 6 weeks. So, anyways, that's kind of how I felt about all that.
Right down.
So, Tino,
I'm confused about Heyman now.
I loved it. You know what? First of all, let me start by saying that Roman Reigns comes down to the ring, right?
Right.
So Roman Reigns is in the ring. Roman Reigns sits there and says that he fired Paul Heyman, and then
Or he said his two people he don't ever want to see again.
Yeah. Brock
Fucking Paul
Lesnar
Heyman.
and Paul Heyman, and then the music hits, and Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman both walk down, and Brock Lesnar has the microphone, not Paul Heyman, and he sits there and he says the entire entrance, and he does it almost as good as Paul Heyman does, right? And then he looks at Paul and he's like, that was pretty good, wasn't it, Paul? And Paul's like, yeah, that was really good, Brock. Yeah. And he's like, shut up, Paul. And then, of course, Roman Reigns sits there and says, of course I'd like to do business with you, but I don't do business with people like him, pointing at Paul Heyman. And he's like, don't you talk about Paul Heyman like that. And then he starts talking, and then Paul Heyman speaks up, and he's like, Paul, shut up. And then Roman sits there and says, don't talk to Paul like that. And it's like, who are you to tell me how I can talk to my advocate because you fired my advocate last. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, they're literally looking at Paul Heyman as if he's a piece of fucking meat.
And Paul Heyman comes up and he's like, why are you doing this to me? I loved you.
And then of course, Brock just turns, looks at him and goes,
what did you say?
What did you just say? Go sit in the corner, Paul.
And that's when Roman stuck up for him.
And it's got everybody wondering what's going on.
It's gold.
Like it's but again, the number one problem with this storyline is that Paul Heyman always said, when it comes to being a manager or an advocate or special counsel, if you will, it's always to make sure that you're enhancing the storyline, but not being the storyline. And yet, what is he?
He's a storyline.
He is the fucking storyline.
And I don't even think he's doing it on purpose. I think he's that damn good.
No. He's doing it because he's told you're the story. Like Paul Heyman's looking at all of these WWE superstars being let go, and he's going, "That's not going to be me."
Yeah.
Like I will be the most important thing in here so that you can't get rid of me before Mania.
I got job security.
And dude, Shavar sent me a video today, and it was all about like when Brock Lesnar was first coming up. And it was all about how Brock Lesnar, when he was first coming up, was being told by people like Freddie Blassie and all these other guys, you should be a Russian. You should be Russian. It'd be great for you to walk out and just be like, like Ivan Potsy or whatever, right? And
they're looking at his Dolph Lundgren. That's probably what they were looking at.
Yeah, exactly. And so Paul Heyman sat there and said, "Hey Vince, how about I produce some of Brock Lesnar's matches?" Because apparently this is right when like the Hogan Rock match was getting ready to happen, right? So they were getting ready to bring Paul Heyman back on TV because this is right after the invasion angle, and Paul Heyman is talking about how like, well, I don't know what you want me to be, but I'll go back on TV. And they're like, well, we're gonna put you with Benoit, right? And Paul E with Benoit would have been great. And of course, like, while Paul E's talking about this is like 2004, 2005. I don't even know when it is that they're talking about it, but like someone's like, my boy in the audience, and Paul Heyman's like, fuck you. And he's like, what do you mean? And he goes, just so anybody knows, Chris Benoit, one of the best 5 in-ring performers I have ever seen in my entire life. But anybody who sits there and says, my boy, when we're talking about a guy who 3 people died and only one of them had a choice, fuck all of you. Fuck anybody that sits there and thinks that like he was a good person, because Nancy and Daniel had no choice in that entire situation. That's all I'll say about it. But he's like, but I'm supposed to be with Benoit. And a couple weeks before that, they send me down to OVW, and I'm producing Brock Lesnar's matches. Then they send me to SmackDown to produce the dark matches for Brock Lesnar. And Brock gets asked, who do you want to work with? And he goes, give me Funaki and give me like Brian Christopher. And he's like, because Brock is not stupid. Brock knows that, like, you give him those 2 guys, he's gonna throw them everywhere. He's gonna throw them out of the ring. He's gonna throw them into the ring. He's gonna throw them in the middle of the ring. He's gonna throw them at the top of the ring. He's gonna throw them everywhere. And then we get to Mania weekend, and Brock's been throwing these guys around for weeks at a time, and I'm supposed to be with Benoit starting the night after Mania. And all of a sudden it comes up, okay, at Mania, Benoit's supposed to walk out. He's supposed to like beat up somebody, and Paul's supposed to go with him. Well, when we get to like that portion of talking about Mania, that doesn't happen. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm just gonna let it go. I'm not gonna say anything, not gonna do anything, not gonna whatever. Because I know that every time I have an argument with Vince McMahon, most times he's right. So I just let it go. And then I'm sitting there at the end of the whole production meeting, realized my name didn't get called. I'm not going out with Benoit. Benoit's not doing what we originally thought. And I walk up to Vince and I said, Vince, I thought I was supposed to go out with Benoit. And he goes, I think I'm going to put you with Brock Lesnar. And Paul Heyman's like, well, I'm okay with that, Vince. What do you got in mind? And he goes, I don't know, Paul. What do you want to call him? And I look right at Vince and I go, Vince, I can tell you right now, he's the next big thing. And Vince McMahon looks at me and he goes, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then Paulie's sitting there and he's like, so again, you know, I look at it and I think to myself, I'm like, Vince McMahon is a pretty smart man. And more often than not, he's right. But that was one where he was not right. And I ended up getting my way. And now you look at it and you see like what, 17 years later, and you see Brock Lesnar coming down to the ring. And Brock Lesnar, I'm telling you, man, like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they sat there and said, Brock, we're not sure we're putting you back with Paul. So if you want to earn your money, you're going to have to earn your money like everybody else does. You're going to have to get on the mic. You're going to have to do the match. You're going to have to, I don't know what's going on.
I think he's always been able to talk. They just never
but
let it.
Something has flipped the switch in that, Tino, to where Brock Lesnar now not only can get on the mic, but then he can do the same thing he did on Monday Night Raw.
This past Monday?
And he looks at Bobby Lashley.
Can I say it? I think I know where you're going.
Go ahead.
No, wait. Are you going to... No, my favorite part of that, and it might not be what you're saying, he was talking all this smack to Bobby because Bobby's like, I beat you back then. He goes, you know what? I could be a stand-up comedian. You're right. Hey, Paul, knock, knock. And Paul's like, Brock Lesnar's telling him not joking Philadelphia. Okay, who's there? Bobby. Bobby who?
Exactly.
Dude, I was done.
This is 1 week.
Is that the one you were going to talk about?
Yes. This is 1 week after Paul Heyman sat there and said, I want to give credit where credit is due. Bobby Lashley is a beast. Bobby Lashley is a monster. Bobby Lashley is the one guy that did not take an F5 in that match. And then a week later, Brock Lesnar's like, I didn't even know who you were. I've never heard of you.
He said, how are you going to beat me? What do you call him? He called him a wannabe Brock
Lesnar.
Lesnar.
When all you are is a wannabe me. Like, he literally said that Bobby Lashley is a wannabe Brock Lesnar. And by the way...
You know how many times I've rewound that? I had to watch that whole segment.
The sad thing about it, and the truth behind it, is this. If they don't figure out a way to give Bobby Lashley a one-up over the next 2 weeks before the Royal Rumble, nobody gives a shit about Bobby Lashley anymore. Brock Lesnar bitch slapped him with his words.
A verbal bitch slap. That's exactly what I said last night.
He bitch slapped him with his words. He made Bobby Lashley his dick-sucking bitch. Like, there is no way to look one way or the other at it. He basically sat there and said, Bobby Lashley, you've been calling out my name for 15 years, and I've never had to look in your direction because you've never been at my level. Like, that's it.
And all Lashley had was, and the looks.
Well, no. All Lashley had was, well, I'm wearing a nice turtleneck, and I got this long velvet jacket.
No. He looked at Lashley and he goes, hey, you guys are just a fancy. He looked at me, what's the threat count on that thing? Dude, he owned them that whole time.
And I bet that shit wasn't scripted. I bet Paul Heyman sat there and said, this is what you go out there and you say. And Brock Lesnar was like, I got you, Paul. I got you.
I rewound it and watched it like twice.
Because I'm going to tell you, what should have happened there is as soon as he sat there and said, Bobby who? And he goes and looks right at Bobby Lashley and says, exactly, he should have gotten speared.
Yes. Or punched or something. Yes.
No. Speared, because Bobby Lashley uses a spear. He should have looked back at him and just like, boom. And then it should have been a pull-off. Because now, over the next 2 weeks, they're going to try to get Bobby Lashley back up to that level.
What I'm reading is, and we forgot to mention it back on SmackDown, now that Rollins is facing Reigns, that's how they're going to get the switch to belt. So Rollins is going to, supposedly right now, win the Universal, bring it back to Raw, and then Brock's going to go to SmackDown and finish his...
What's the fucking point?
I don't know. But
unless they have it where Brock ends up involving himself in that match, causing Roman to lose, why would Roman lose suddenly to Seth Rollins when he hasn't lost a match in a year and a half?
Don't know. But I think because they want to fight. Because I think what they're going to do is set up for the Brock Roman fight at WrestleMania somehow.
Well, and I agree. I think that's exactly what they're aimed for. It's just there's no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Like
but they've got to figure it out because they're not going to let Lashley's not going to beat him at the.
But see, Lashley beating Brock because Roman comes down makes more sense and gives Brock a bigger babyface push.
Yeah, but I think they jumped off track when Roman got sick and couldn't defend his title at the last.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I think in order to make it right, I think that's what they're going to do.
Doesn't matter, but the worst part about it is that the idea of giving Seth Rollins the Universal Championship over Roman, like, there's no reason. There is no reason. Yeah. Having Bobby Lashley beat Brock Lesnar because Roman Reigns or the Bloodline comes down, I can buy that. But I can't buy any reason why Seth Rollins would beat Roman Reigns. I can't. I just can't buy it. So that's my feelings on it. So Rampage.
Oh, we forgot about Rampage.
Send Hook.
That's my boy. But they answered the question that I had. Dustin didn't win. Sammy,
told you.
You did. And Sammy Guevara is the interim champion. But they said during the match, when Cody comes back, they'll have a match to unify the belt. So, okay, I'm good with that now. Because I was trying to figure out how the hell that was going to work.
Well, I told you that was exactly what's going to happen.
So I
don't. You didn't want to believe me.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Sammy having that belt back again.
I think that the plan was always going to be to have him and Cody in a feud. I don't know how it was going to continue after the second match.
So if Cody hadn't gotten the protocol and all that stuff, do you think they were going to have him go over Sammy again?
No, but maybe. I don't know. I just all I can say to it is, and in fact, if I were booking, I would say no. I would have Sammy win, and then I would have Sammy continue on with the championship. But now it adds an element to the story that they can continue the story for as long as they want to, right? So, okay, cool.
So what about this tension that's growing between one Chris Jericho and one Eddie Kingston? Because they're both faces. Eventually somebody's going to have to turn. And I'm thinking they're going to make it Eddie. You don't think so?
Neither one has to turn long term. Because people aren't going to boo Eddie Kingston just because he has a match against Chris Jericho. People aren't going to boo Chris Jericho just because he has a match against Eddie Kingston. Like, they're going to boo in that match, sure. But Eddie Kingston has already proven, especially with his Players Tribune article and everything, that, like, anybody who has mental illness is going to be an Eddie Kingston fan. Like, that's just fact, right? At this point, there's no reason why Chris Jericho should ever be heel again.
No.
Especially in the remainder of his time with AEW. If he wants to have one more heel run in WWE, that's saying something a little bit different. But between the two of them, like, sure, one of them might be the heel during the match, but neither one of them's got to be heel for long term.
So how excited are you about singing Fozzy tomorrow night? That face. That smile.
I gotta make my sign, by the way. I haven't made my sign yet. So
God. So
I can't even believe that. So tomorrow, by the way, here's what's interesting is that I requested the day off. Right. So I'm supposed to have the entire day off. But they told us that we have a training that's called the Train the Trainer, because we're doing something going forward, and we've got to be able to teach all of our agents how to do it. So they put this in place, and I'm like, son of a bitch. It means I might as well go into work for a couple hours so that I can do this Train the Trainer thing.
Right.
Well, then I was like, all right, I'm probably going to be up at 9 o'clock in the morning anyway, right? Because the training's at 2. Got this thing at like 9, like I'm normally in work at 9 o'clock in the morning. Might as well not sit there and take a full day off. So I'm going in from like 9 to 11 to do like my normal morning work. And then I'm going back at 2 so I can do this meeting.
How long's the meeting?
An hour. So I mean, like I'll be in work for like 3 hours, and I'll use 5 hours of PTO. But I'm like, damn it! Like I wanted to take the whole day off.
Yeah.
But now I'm only taking like 5 hours off because and it's going to be a split 5 hours. It's not even going to be like just like, okay, I'm going to be there from like 9 to 2 and then off the rest. No, I'm going to be there like 9 to 11 and then 2 to 3. But either way, I kind of like it because I'm taking some time off, getting out of the store a little bit, get some time to sit there and maybe try to do some writing because I haven't done that in a little while. And like I said, I'll show you the piece of art that I did after I get off the show here. But yeah, I was like, damn it, it's tomorrow already that the show. And you know, like when I saw you on Saturday, I told Nicole, I was like, yeah, we got another wrestling show on Wednesday. And she's like, shit, it's that soon? Because she didn't know it was Wednesday either. And then I didn't ask you because I ran out of tickets already, but I have tickets to the hockey game on Thursday. So I got 8 tickets. I got 8 tickets to the hockey game, and like I started going through my list of people, and I was like, Tino's not going to be allowed to go anyway. So I asked him last just in case.
Yeah, because right now as it stands with the new job, the new promotion, I'm facilitating classes as well. So Monday nights, I got I think it's like 6:30. It's an hour and a half, so from 6:30 to 8. Wednesdays is 6 to 7:30, and then Saturday morning I have 2 classes Saturday morning. So that means I would have had a class. I did a class last night, doing this tonight, doing wrestling tomorrow night. Yeah, that wouldn't have flown.
Yeah. Now I would have made sure that there was a ticket for Nicole or Matthew if you wanted to go, but yeah, like 8 tickets to the hockey game, and but yeah, so Monday Night Raw last night, we already started talking about the Brock Lesnar thing and Bobby Lashley, and the other thing that I want to talk about though is that, you know, we see all this talk about the Alpha Academy, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about the Alpha Academy, and we've always wondered, like, why are these 2 guys put together? Right? And they won the tag team titles last night. They beat RKO. They beat them clean. They win the titles. Chad Gable, if you go onto his Twitter, posted a nice little like speech and pictures and stuff. And interestingly enough, Tino, I don't know if you know this or not, but when Chad Gable was training to be an Olympian, Otis was also training to be an Olympian.
Really?
The 2 of them were
Did they know each other?
With each other.
Okay, cool. Okay. That's
and
awesome.
On top of training with each other, when Chad Gable sat there and moved into his new house, he sat there and messaged Otis and said, a house down the street is available. And a day later, Otis put an offer in on that house.
Like recently or back in the day?
Back in the day.
Wow.
And the 2 of them, so we always thought that Otis and Tucker were super close. But Otis and Chad Gable legitimately are super close with each other because awesome. The 2 of them sweat their asses off in Chad Gable's garage learning the craft of pro wrestling so that the two of them at some point could now be the Raw Tag Team Champions.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
And I didn't know it either. Like, but when you look at the pictures, and here's what's funny. So you see Otis now, and Otis literally looks like the fat guy from Teen Wolf.
Yes.
Right? He literally looks like the fat dude from Teen Wolf.
Yes.
Like the basketball player fat guy, whatever. I don't remember what his name was, but he
He's
had a
also
pretty
Pee
good
Wee's
role in that film.
He was also in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yeah, absolutely.
The rich kid.
So while he looks like that guy, and then when he got to the WWE, he grew the beard out, he grew the hair out, he did all that. When they put him back with Chad Gable, if you look at the pictures of Chad Gable as like some 20-year-old kid trying out for the Olympic trials, and you see this big dude sitting next to him, he looks exactly like he does now.
Are you serious? Bald
Otis,
and everything.
Otis bald and no beard, and you're like, holy shit. And it makes it like the fact that you said it not too long ago that WWE falls into these. They fell into this, and yet it is a true story between two guys that work their ass off to get to where they are. And I couldn't be happier for the fact that Alpha Academy is the tag team champions, although I really want Matt Riddle to turn on Randy Orton now. So,
holy smoke.
What?
I just found the pictures you were talking about on Twitter. Wow.
Can you hold them up?
I don't know if it'll show with this ring light. I'm going to cut the ring light off. Can you see it?
Kinda. There you go.
Go this way.
Pretty crazy, isn't it, folks?
That's awesome.
Pretty crazy. Like we all thought that just those two being put together was just a random thing. And it turns out that they have more history than any of us would ever know. So thank you, Chad Gable, for showing us that.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Alpha Academy only exists to give Vince a reason to keep both Otis and Gable.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's true based on what we just said, Chris Barrett.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. Come on, Rob. Have you seen Otis? Otis ain't sweating. Well, you said sweeting his ass off. You're right. He's definitely eating the sweets. He's eating the sweets. Okay, we're just gonna get off of that one right there.
Another thing that surprised me last night on Raw was Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley. So now she's going to be a heel in this outfit. Rhea Ripley is going to kill her. What do they think?
So you know what would be cool?
If they went back to the NXT Nikki, that version of her, I give her a chance. But this Nikki ASH, she's gonna get her ass beat. Hold
on. So okay, one of my favorite superheroes is the Green Lantern.
Okay,
right? Who's his ultimate villain?
The red dude. I can't remember his name.
No. The yellow dude.
Yeah.
Sinestro.
Yes.
Right? So what if all of a sudden her superhero costume was changed to be a supervillain costume?
Well, I think at the end of that, if you read her lips or said whatever, she's like, superheroes don't need friends. So do you think really she's gonna make her a villain?
I mean, I think based on the statement that because superheroes need friends. Superheroes all have friends. Look at, I mean, Superman has Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, they have the Super Friends too, by the way.
Well, yeah, but that's completely different.
I know. I just don't know.
Now, see, here's where Chris Barrett's right. Sinestro and Hood, depending on which which and actually, Chris Barrett, I'll give you a joke here. Alan Scott was known as is now known as the first gay superhero in DC Comics, right? So the Golden Age Green Lantern. Yet his weakness is wood.
Okay. Yeah. Cue the music. Cue the music.
I'll let you. You know what? You know what, Tino? Was there anything else we needed to talk about?
No, sir. Cue the music. No, sir. I'm done. I'm done.
Hey, so quick couple other things, and not wrestling related.
All right.
For anybody who is not watching Yellow Jackets on Showtime,
What is that one?
what is that one?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Lost, and then it's kind of like Lord of the Flies, except so the whole concept is that like this high school soccer team is getting ready to go play nationals, right? But while they're in their plane crashes in the 90s, and it takes like 18 months for them finally to get found.
Okay.
So they have to learn to survive in the wilderness for like 18 months,
A year,
including a like polar winter, right? And then it also has elements of now, where all the women from the soccer team are all trying to like hide the story and don't want to talk about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the beginning of it, somebody comes to at least one of them and says, "Hey, we know what happened, and we're going to blackmail you for it." So now it's like, what happened? And then you keep seeing all the flashbacks, which, like I said, gets super Lord of the Flies-y, if you've ever seen Lord of the Flies. And then on top of that, like all of a sudden, like Juliette Lewis and the brunette from 2.5 Men, all these characters like in the here and now who were those teenage girls back in the day are like freaking out and all of a sudden going like to crazy ends to sit there and move stuff along. What's that?
That's on Showtime?
Yes.
Damn it.
And then for those that didn't watch Dexter New Blood season finale.
I don't care about that, man.
Seriously?
I didn't watch Dexter. So I mean, I'll go back and watch it, but I never watched Dexter.
So one of the really cool things about New Blood was that the creator of the original Dexter series came back to create this season, and even said that it's not necessarily a one and done. It might be a continuation kind of thing going on.
How many seasons was the original? Like 5?
8 seasons, of which there were like 3 really good seasons, 2 okay seasons, and like 3 like, why am I still watching this show seasons?
Okay. Especially
the 8th season, which was the last season. You're sitting there at the end of it and you're like, why am I watching it? Like what kind of ending? It was like the Tony Soprano ending, right?
Okay.
Well, Chris Barrett just said Walter attacking AJ. Waller attack? Oh, AJ. Okay, Waller. Okay. Yeah. Which is fine because AJ is going to face him on tonight. Yeah. But what they said about it was really interesting because how often do people get to sit there and say that the series finale is so bad, right? And that they bring it back 10 years later and have a second chance to fix what went wrong the first time.
Yeah.
You know, they don't, right? Like and we see this all the time now, Tino, is that like people don't want new, they want what they remember.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to go back and actually have the same characters that they remember having another. I mean, the Roseanne show. They brought Roseanne back. She ended up saying some stuff that got her in trouble, so they kept all of the other characters and got rid of her. Right? The Mad About You, with Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. They brought that back for another season. They brought back Will and Grace. They did the
Tim Allen
reunion
show.
with Friends. What?
The Tim Allen show thing. What was that? Last Man Standing. They took that off a wall and brought it back.
Well, that one's still on the air.
Yeah. They took it down for a while.
But like that's just saying it, is that like all these shows that we liked are coming back because people don't want to sit there and try to get invested into a new show. Like actually Hulu's got one starting up just now. It's called How I Met Your Mother, or How I Met Your Father.
Right.
Which is the female portion of the How I Met Your Mother, which we just lost Bob Saget, who was the voice of Ted. And which is a sad story. So but with Dexter, I can't stress enough. I loved the episodes. In fact, I will tell you right now, Tino, that the Showtime app put every episode up at midnight Eastern. So on Saturday nights, I would stay up till midnight, and I would immediately watch every episode as it launched because I was going to be up anyway.
I'm looking at the damn Showtime app. What is like $7 a month or something?
Oh, I'll give you my password.
I want to check out Dexter, I guess, and see.
Dude, Yellow Jackets is finishing. The Ray Donovan movie comes out on Friday. 2 weeks from now, you've got Billions season 6 coming. I mean, Showtime is like killing it with their stuff.
In Billions, that's the Rock show, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, you're
No.
talking about Ballers.
Yeah.
No, Billions was Paul Giamatti and Damian Lewis, and this season is Paul Giamatti versus Corey Stoll, who is the bad guy in Ant-Man.
Got it.
But all of those shows, I mean, dude, totally worth watching.
Hills season 2, good Chris Barrett. I don't know, when is that coming back. I'm excited for that.
Later in the year. However, since Chris Barrett brought that up, I'll go ahead and say The Boys.
Is that back?
Season 3 has an official date.
When?
June 3rd.
I'm there.
And before it comes out, they're supposed to have animated cartoon episodes for different things coming up to it.
I want Invincible. When's Invincible coming back? That was my other show.
After that.
I love Invincible too. That was a good one.
Yeah, but it's no The Boys. And by the way, Boys season 3 has Jensen Ackles coming in. So from Supernatural.
Yeah.
And he plays Soldier Boy, who's supposed to be like a Captain America style character. And one of the episodes.
That's what's his name? That's Homelander, isn't it? He's kind of a Captain America.
No. He's like Superman.
Superman. That's right. Never mind.
He's like Cody Rhodes. But see now you threw me off a little bit.
Sorry.
But one of the episodes of season 3 is called Herogasm.
That's what Chris Barrett just said.
And they said they couldn't believe they got it past their censors. So.
Can't wait to see it.
So we got some time to go, baby.
All right. Well.
So, all right, Tino, you see the sign up there?
Yep. All right, folks, we want to say thanks for tuning in this week, as always. You can check this fool out on the Twitter machine. He is at Potcheck.
Hold on. We will be at AEW tomorrow night at PNC Arena. Wardlow versus CM Punk. We will be singing Fozzy. Go ahead.
And then are they doing Rampage after? Do you know? So we are gonna get another Rampage too. So I get to see Hook. Bring Hook.
Send Hook.
Send Hook. So you can check him out on the Twitter at Podcheck. I'm HootieFan91. On the Insta, he is Rob Podcheck. I'm SC Tino. You can check him up on the TikTok. He is Rob Potsy Podcheck. You can check us out each and every week right here where you're watching us on the YouTube. Excuse me. We also want to say thank you to Adam's House Cat for our theme music. It is the wrestling song. You can get that for 99 cents.
Till Tino writes us a new one.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
No,
And actually, I am. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that's Rob. I'm Tino. We're out.
Give us a thumbs up.
Thumbs up, like, buy the merchandise. Thank you, Ruckus. And you guys take care of yourself. Good night. Peace. Thank you. Ooh, yeah. Dig it.